You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 340 of Podketeers. This week we talk about people doing good things and paying it forward. Disney is cracking down on eBay resellers again. Snow White's Scary Adventures gets a new name and look, and we chat about the season finale of The Mandalorian. Just know that this episode does contain spoilers, so if you haven't watched it yet, make sure that you do, because we don't want this episode to spoil it for you. We'd love to hear your thoughts, though, on the season finale of The Mandalorian and what some of your favorite moments this season were. You can join the conversation over on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or our new Discord server. You'll find a link in the blog post for this episode, or you can just leave a comment on the blog post for the episode over at podketeers.com/340. Our virtual food drive to raise money to help cast members and other hospitality workers in Orange County is almost over. Thank you to everyone that's contributed and shared the link with your friends and family. We've been really excited about this food drive through Second Harvest City Food Bank because every dollar donated becomes the equivalent of up to 3 meals. So far, with your help, we've been able to provide almost 1,500 meals in the Orange County area. This food drive is just a small way for us to try to repay some of that magic that cast members have provided us with over the years. And since these are difficult times, we figured this would be a great way for us to help. If you would like more information or want to help, you can go to teamboatwilly.com for info and a link to our Second Harvest page to make a donation. To everyone that's donated or shared our food drive info, thank you so much for spreading the magic. We know that anything that we raise is going to help make this a better Christmas for a lot of people. And of course, before we jump into the episode, we'd like to send a special thank you to the FGP Squad, aka our podcast Fairy Godparents, because it's their monthly support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. Being a part of the FGP Squad family gets you some additional perks like access to our monthly happy hour calls, additional discounts on gear, additional content. So if you would like more info on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, you can go to podketeers.com/FGP. And as always, a very special thank you to the FGP Squad for their continued support. So that's it. That's going to wrap up this intro. We hope that you all have a very Merry Christmas, that you had a wonderful Hanukkah, and to all, Happy Holidays. Stay safe. Thank you for listening. Here is episode 340 of Podketeers.
Yeah?
Yeah!
Yeah.
I love it when
something right
like that.
happened in 2020.
Right?
Woo!
Man. I just saw, the good news segments that John Krasinski was doing early in the year before he sold out? No? I shouldn't say he sold out. So John Krasinski of The Office and Jack Ryan and, A Quiet Place fame, just to name a few. He put together this YouTube show called Some Good News. And it was kind of at the height of the pandemic back in like March, April-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And he was dedicating these like 20, 30-minute videos to just sharing good news that was happening in the world. Because at the time, we were getting bombarded with one piece of bad news after another. And not much has changed, to be honest with you. I mean,
Right.
let's be honest. 2020, am I right?
Yep.
But he was going on and he was sharing like the stories of the frontline workers, the nurses, the doctors, the EMTs, and so on, and highlighting stories about, how they helped this family and this and how they did this and that. And it was really fun. Like he shared stories of families at home and how they were finding ways to pass the time. And I think he threw a prom for a school because they were all at home. So he like DJ'd. It was crazy. It was a really fun way to kind of take what was happening, a little more lighthearted, which that actually ended up inspiring one of the videos that I did for our all staffs. Because we were doing our first virtual all staff, I created Some Good News Philanthropy Edition. And so I took a bunch of stories from all of our colleagues, and I basically did the same format, put together Some Good News Philanthropy Edition, and it turned out really well. I mean, you know, if John Krasinski's still looking for somebody to continue, you know, doing Some Good News, then I'm still available. I'm still open to it. And so halfway through the year, he ended up selling it to Viacom, CBS, and now they were supposed to put together their version of Some Good News on their new service, but like their service is possibly the lowest used among all the services out there.
Is this the CBS All Access?
Yeah, CBS All Access.
It is heavily used in our house.
Is it really?
For Star Trek, yes.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that's what it was on. I didn't know what was on it. I know that the CSIs are on there, but I don't know, you know, much of everything else. And I don't even know if they ended up doing Some Good News after all. So the reason I brought it up was because there was this dad that I guess was selling his stuff on eBay. And it reminded me of this because we're going to talk about eBay in a little bit. But there was this dad that was selling a bunch of his stuff on eBay because he didn't have a job. He had lost his job because of COVID, and he was, you know, struggling to make ends meet. Like, his wife passed away a couple Christmases ago, and so he was just trying to provide a really great Christmas for his kids. And so he lists all of these collectibles that he had, like these really nice comic book, wrestling, and several $1,000s worth of merchandise up on eBay. He asked The Rock on Twitter if he could retweet him, you know, so he could try to get these items sold. And The Rock responds, he's like, hey, you know, you're a great dad. I got something else cooking for you. Don't you worry. You know, keep your head up or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. So then there's this new episode of Some Good News. And I'm thinking, what the? I haven't seen this in months. John, welcome back to my screen. So I play it. He starts talking about, he goes rapid fire, just catching everybody up with everything that's been happening. And so he all of a sudden brings this guy that's been selling his stuff on eBay. And he's like, I tried to buy your stuff on eBay, but the guy blocked him. He thought he was like trolling him or he was being cyber attacked. And so he said, okay, look, I got somebody that can make a difference for you. And he brings The Rock on.
Nice.
Okay. And so they're like, yeah, you know, we're going to provide you whatever your kids want on their Christmas list. Delist everything on eBay. We're going to give you the amount of money that you're asking for everything. So you get to keep your stuff. And then he says, hey, do you like Black Adam? You know, do you like DC? He says, yeah. He says, well, when I'm done filming Black Adam, when I'm done with this script, the script that I am using, the one with my name on it, I'm going to have it leather bound. I'm going to sign it to you, and then I'm going to send it to you as your ultimate collectible. I was like, what?
Dude.
It's like, that's so freaking cool.
That's awesome.
And so I just keep thinking that, you know, in what's been, I've been reflecting a lot, you know, about this entire year. And one of the things that makes me laugh the most is, you know, on TikTok, they always have the show me this without telling me this, right? And one of the ones that's been floating around recently was, show me something you bought at the beginning of the pandemic that turned out to be absolutely useless. And it cuts to this dude and he's holding up his Disney annual pass.
Yep.
And I mean, it made me laugh. Yeah, it sucks, right? Like, we all kind of went through that, but it made me laugh and it was kind of humorous. So I guess now that we're kind of tail ending 2020, it got me thinking about all these. There was all these stories that I was reading. I was purposely searching for happy things because it's been difficult, right?
Yeah.
There was this one dude in Florida, you know, he's gained a little bit of success. He's made a little bit of money running his business in Florida. And last year, I guess he ended up paying for 36 different households because they were struggling with utilities. And that was just like his way of saying Merry Christmas. And so this year, because of what was happening, he paid the utility bills for 114 different households.
Holy cow.
That's a lot.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
114
awesome.
households. Like, he paid almost $8,000 paying all of their utilities so that they could continue to have water, electricity, heat, with everything that's going on in Florida right now. So
Wow.
the
That's
gentleman's
amazing.
name, the gentleman's name is Michael Esmond. So Michael Esmond, you are the Podketeer Hero of the Week.
Heck yeah.
Because
That is
that's,
You rock, sir.
That's fantastic.
Seriously.
So, so anyway, the reason I was bringing up eBay and the reason it made me think about it was because, the Walt Castle and everything, we're like, oh, we gotta, we want to get it. Before we get into this eBay conversation, I have something awesome to show you.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, there was some trials and tribulations in the past.
Mm-hmm.
There was some things that were difficult for me to get, but this time
Hey,
Yes!
there he
happened.
is.
I
In all
got
his
my
glory.
That's
Walt
cool.
and Castle Funko.
That is
Beautiful.
awesome. That is
I
awesome.
Could not believe it when I saw the box. Actually, Lynette saw the box. She said, hey, you have something from Shop Disney that just came in the mail. And when she said it, like, it's semi-registered, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, cool, I got a box from Shop Disney. But in my head, it didn't register. It's the Walt and Castle Funko. Like, I just thought, oh, cool, I just ordered something, right? That's what we do in 2020. And so, like, 3 days go by, and she's like, hey, are you going to open that box or what? I was like, what box? I completely forgot it was there.
Wow.
And so she's like, the Shop Disney box. I'm like, oh, the Shop Disney box. So I go get it. I open it. It's the Castle and Walt Funko. They didn't disappoint. The box was damaged slightly because, that's how they do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what came out of it is a little bit of happiness in what's been... I can't use that language on the podcast. It's been a year.
It's been a year. Yeah.
Are you going to
And
keep it in the box?
Yes!
Oh, that's boring,
No,
man.
dude, I'm keeping it in the box, man.
So boring. And it
The
takes up
box
so
is
much
so
more room.
cute.
I guess. Look, like, the only reason I would want that one is for the castle. Like, the castle's awesome. I'd love
Yeah.
to have a little model of the Disneyland castle. But, I mean, Walt, I don't know. It doesn't look like Walt.
It kind of does.
Kind of doesn't, though.
I mean, it's a Funko, dude. It's not going to be, like, fully detailed.
I
But, yeah, the
know.
castle looks awesome.
Yeah, the castle looks legit.
It's so detailed, There is a part of me that wants to open it. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, are you going to sell it for a lot of money in 50 years?
I don't plan on it. Like, I plan on keeping this.
I mean, to me, like, the box just obscures the thing that you got, Like, I would want it, like, out on a shelf so I could look at it and appreciate it and wonder at it. That's just me, though. I've never gotten the whole keep it in the box thing unless you're a collector that intends to flip it and, like, keep buying more things and flip them when they increase in value. You know what I mean?
I totally get what you mean. No, I don't. I do like to collect stuff, but I very rarely take them out of the package. Like, remember the Vinylmations that they used to sell?
Yes.
So I had 2 Vinylmations, one that had the Main Street Magic Shop on it, and another one that had the opening of Cars Land, like, painted on it, and it has the date and everything. So those I've kept sealed only because I just don't like how dusty they get, and it's easier to quickly just dust off a box than it is to, like, get in the crevices of everything that you have on display. So I kind of feel like especially with the castle's pretty intricate. And, after about a week, like, I don't want to have to keep dusting it. It's easier for me to wipe down the top of the box than having to dust the castle. You know what I mean?
Okay. So the answer is lazy. Got it.
Yeah, totally. I'm totally
I'm
trying to
just
be lazy
kidding.
about this. No, it's true. I am totally trying to be lazy. Like, I have so much other stuff going on that I don't want to spend 2 hours just dusting.
Yeah. I get it.
So anyway, I'm super happy. I didn't think I was gonna get it. Like, at least a couple times throughout the last several episodes, I've mentioned how I've been disappointed by previous pre-orders that I didn't get. This time was no different. I just felt, I'll place the order, and if I get it, great. And if I don't, well, it's what I've come to expect from them. So, whatever. And Merry Christmas, man, to me. I just, it's one of those things that I felt like I really, really wanted ever since they announced it. Like, I don't look at Funko Pops and think like, I need to have the entire collection of everything, I only have like probably about 7 or 8 Funkos total. This is one of them. And
Nice.
they're all in the box. But I display them in the box. Maybe one day I'll take them out. I've also kept a lot of things in the box because when my kids were younger, they would want to open them and play with them. And if they're collectibles, even if they're on display, like I don't want them to get damaged.
Yeah.
So I would purposely leave them in the box so that they would know that they were off limits. And now that my kids are older, they want to open the boxes and play with them. So, boxes still remain closed. So there's that.
I get it.
So yeah, okay. So sorry, I just keep trailing off on these tangents, but so eBay, right? As you know, something collectible comes out, and then all of a sudden, everybody's buying it. No, not everybody. There's a bunch of people that tend to buy lots of them, and then they go resell them on eBay. And this last week, Disney started to crack down on them again.
Good.
So how are
Really
they cracking down?
From what I've seen, it looks like they're going to eBay and they are delisting a lot of the items that are being flipped. So it happened a lot with the Walt Castle Funko. And this isn't new. I think Disney's done this before. They've, I think a year or two ago, around the same time, they did the same thing. They went to eBay and they started delisting things. But it's so much easier. Like this year, it's been easier for people that were willing to brave the line to go to get some of these exclusive things. I remember, when was it, Mel? Like in August? When did we try to get the Hatbox Ghost pins for the 60th anniversary?
I want to say it was August.
Something like that, right? It was July. Oh, it had to have been July because that was the anniversary for Disneyland. It couldn't have been August. So anyway, for the 65th anniversary, they released a whole bunch of pins. They released backpacks from Loungefly and all this exclusive 65th anniversary gear. But they did it in a virtual queue on their website. And they've done stuff like that before, but it never functioned very well. Like there was always problems with it. And this, I will tell you, was no different. So we went on there. I remember getting on not too long after they announced it, and I was apparently like 8,900 and something, by the time I decided I don't want to do this anymore. And honestly, I don't remember what number it was. I just know that I was some ridiculous number that I was never going to catch up to the end of the queue. And I was on there like the entire day, the entire night, and by then I knew everything was out of stock. I knew I wasn't going to get any of the stuff that I wanted. But we didn't get the anniversary stuff. But there was people purchasing stuff in person at World of Disney here in Anaheim. And I guess those are the people that Disney's really cracking down on, not specifically for the fact that technically they're breaking the terms of service of their annual pass holder agreement. Because according to the AP benefits, all of the discounts and stuff are for personal use and not for commercial purpose. So that's including obtaining merchandise and then reselling it, to make money. And so because these APs were buying massive amounts of this merchandise and then reselling it for profit, they're technically breaking the annual pass holder agreement. Yeah. And so that's why Disney's going after them. That's the basis of where this is coming from. I'm assuming that at some point Disney heard the cries of so many people, or they heard us talk about it, but so many people on Twitter that were like, hey, what the hell? You release these things and I'm on there 2 minutes after, but then you're sold out. And I think it has to do with just people's frustrations and them trying to move on and trying to figure out exactly what they want to do. But I'm glad that they're finally doing something about it again. I have mixed feelings about it, right? Because I get the hustle and I respect it, but at the same time, Disney just has to do things different so that it's a little more fair for everybody else. Like you could do your hustle a different way, right? Or if you're paying for things full price, maybe that changes the way that Disney views it. because I think they're just angry that people are using their annual pass discount to buy a bunch of stuff and then reselling it. So will that change it? Will they just tell people you have to buy these full price? I don't know. But if they can't determine who's reselling and who's buying it just for personal use, does that mean they're going to make everything full price and we're all going to lose out on the AP discount?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that it's the real solution lies in the limitations at time of purchase. You know, I think that's the point where all these roads kind of crisscross and where the solution needs to happen. Because we can't rely on just human decency to step in. Like, that's never going to happen, especially with rabid fans of any fandom. They just lose their mind. It's insanity to me. But I think that's where they got to do it. They got to make limitations on how many you can purchase and make that a hard, fast rule and make it really small and just go from there. I don't know that they can really, I don't know that they want to spend their time individually saying, well, these limited things you don't get a discount on, but these regular things you do get a discount on. Like that just gets too messy, I think, for annual pass discounts. So I think they'll probably leave that intact. But I think it has to be a limitation.
And that's the funny thing too, that they do place limits on a lot of the things that you purchase, but people find loopholes, right? They take another person with them, or they say, my son is buying 2 of them as well. Or, this person with me, they live in the same household. Don't worry, they're buying 2 as well. And before you know it, that person who should have been limited to 2, all of a sudden ended up with 12.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. That limitation.
You can only do so much there.
Yeah. That limit is going to be crucial to having more successful launches to things that are limited. And I hope they find a solution soon. I don't know.
I guess the other solution is they should make 10 times as many as they do.
But then is it really limited, though?
I mean,
or just
who cares?
purchases to 2.
Who cares when they release 10,000 limited edition things? Whether it's 10,000 of one thing or 10,000 different things, like at some point they're Funkos. I mean, they're like Beanie Babies were 20 years ago. Everybody thought they were going to be millionaires one day. They're worthless, like it's not, we're talking about Funkos here.
That's
we're
true.
not talking about one of those Swarovski crystal, castles that has actual real value and then potential greater value later on. These are plastic vinyl figures that are mass produced that look exactly the same as 10 billion other vinyl figures. So that I don't get that argument at all. It doesn't hold up to me because these are meaningless little trinkets. I mean, I say that in a value sense. They're very meaningful to a lot of people who love them, and I can appreciate that. But in true value, they're nothing. And so, make 10 times as many more. You can still call it limited because it still will be limited to just a bigger number. Everything ultimately is limited. They're not going to make anything in, perpetuity forever. Right?
Let me cover Funko Walt's ears over here because you just called him a trinket.
Yeah, well, I don't know that Walt would appreciate being a Funko or not.
I've had it's funny that you mentioned that because I've kind of had an inner dialogue about that. I'm not crazy, okay? I've just thought, part of the reason we don't have a Walt animatronic is because people want to be respectful of Walt, you can't do him justice really. And although we've armchair imagineered ways of bringing him back in VR and all sorts of other stuff and making his eyes squishy, a Funko is obviously not Walt. I get that. I'm totally on board with you. But at the same time, it's a freaking Funko of Walt, right? It's so adorable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, I don't see the novelty anymore, because these have been around for 15 years, Funko Pops?
Yeah.
And they've done everybody. I mean, everybody. And some of them they've done 10 different versions of.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, until they start doing like every person on the planet, when Gavin Audison Funko Pop comes out, yeah, I'll probably buy that one.
It's funny you mentioned that, sir.
I'm sure you can customize them like you can customize Lego minifigures and whatever.
You can.
But, you know, my point being, like, I don't know. I'm going to be the Scrooge on this one. Bah humbug Funko Pops.
Nah, I get you, dude. I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
You're totally right. I think the novelty for me, because I don't own 6,000 of them, because I own so few, the novelty still exists in my heart, right?
Sure.
And this particular set just means a lot to me personally. And that's why I'm saying that, like, if I had to pay full price for this, which technically I did because I bought it online, I didn't get my annual pass discount, so technically I did. I don't care because I'm keeping it. I'm not selling it. I'm not trying to flip it or anything. I did have the intention of purchasing one that I could auction off, but even then with the auctions, I still have, I don't know, I feel like it's for a different purpose. Right? Like if we're auctioning off an item that we purchased like that and it's for, you know, feeding, you know, cast members and stuff or for helping the kids at Chalk or whatever the case is, I think it's different than just trying to flip it on eBay.
That's definitely different. And we're not buying 10 of anything either.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we are lucky to happen upon one or two, you know, a year, maybe 3 or 4 if it's a good year of, you know, quality items that we can auction off, you know, and there's no abuse there. There's no profiteering. It's really just, you know, trying to get something that we think people will want and donate a little money for, and they get a prize out of it, and we get to donate that money to a good cause.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of that, before we move on, I do want to remind everybody that we are still doing a virtual food drive through Second Harvest Food Bank in Orange County to help a lot of the cast members that were furloughed most of the year or that were laid off recently as Disney has remained closed, unfortunately. Here, the parks in California, due to the recent COVID spikes, has not been deemed safe to really open the parks. And although Downtown Disney was open, it was only several hundred cast members that were working again. You know, compared to the dozens of thousands, you know, of cast members that were working before, you know, a lot of them need help. They don't have a way to, you know, they don't have something to fall back on, or they don't have, you know, people to help them out. So this is our way of trying to provide a little bit of magic for them, the same way that they've provided magic for us. So if you go to podketeers.com/340, you'll see the link there to our donation page. If you don't have the money to donate, please share the link with your friends and family, repost it on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want. Help us get the word out. At this point, we've provided just over 1,500 meals for people in the Orange County area, and we want to try to provide 3,000 or more. That's our goal. So if you want to head over, you can also go to teamboatwillie.com. It's like Steamboat Willie, but without the S, and you can find the link to donate there. If you have any questions about the donation, or if you have any questions about the fundraiser in general, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you out and answer as many questions as you have. And if we don't know the answer, we'll try to send you to where you can get the answer for that. To everybody that's already donated, reposted, helped us share, you know, thank you so much for your generosity. As we're approaching Christmas, you know, this episode is releasing the week of Christmas, just a day or so before. So let's try to make it a happier Christmas for as many people as we can during this difficult time. Hey, Snow White Scary Adventures got a makeover.
Yeah.
It's getting one, that's for sure.
What do you guys think? Have you seen the preview that they posted on the Disney Parks blog?
Yeah, it's all pretty and just colorful. So much more color.
I do like, you know, they gave us a little teaser, but they also showed us some of the facelift they gave to the exterior, and I like that they brought it more in keeping with the new color scheme of the castle with some brighter You know, colors, it's a lot less dark and gothic and scary because they're kind of reworking it to be less scary than it was apparently, which I'm a little disappointed about because I liked the scary parts of that. And, you know, there are some parts in particular that I have my concerns about that it seems like they must have shortened. So, yeah, let's talk about it.
They've made a couple of really big changes. You know, they've added Snow White in an area where she wasn't before, and it makes sense to have her there. I gotta tell you, man, looking at the scenes in the mine, one reminds me a lot of the Mine Train attraction that's at Walt Disney World.
Oh,
I think
definitely,
Yeah.
you know,
definitely brought some of that look and technology over.
yeah, and for the first time on this attraction, we're seeing some of that projection technology as well as we kind of see some of the dwarves in the background. This attraction, I think, just really needed an overhaul for a really long time. You know, I didn't think that they were going to remove some of the parts that they removed, as far as from what we can tell was removed.
Right.
But so far, the additions to the attraction will, I mean, they'll make it a little kid-friendly or friendlier than it used to be. But, you know, you mentioned it a bit ago, Gavin. I think that scary aspect of this particular attraction is what differentiated it from most of the other attractions in Fantasyland.
Yep. I totally agree. And I like what they've done with the Dwarves Mine as far as what they showed us in that little teaser. But it definitely looks like they've significantly lengthened it. And based on what we see in the teaser, it looks like they've lengthened it into the area that is basically the castle dungeon before you reach the room where we first meet the queen. And that's really my favorite segment of the ride. It's just so classically dark, and all the black light stonework and the skeletons and the cages, and I don't know, I just love it. It's got this kind of creepy old haunted house vibe to me, and I really enjoy that segment. So it looks like they've at least shortened that section, if not removed it. I don't know if any of that still remains, but I do like what they did with the mine. But yeah, everything about it seems to be more toward the light-hearted side of the film, even though that film does have a lot of dark stuff in it. You know, that it definitely seems lighter. All right, and then the other dark scene that it looks like they've likely cut out as well is the very last scene where you've got the dwarves kind of scaling the cliffside and the old crone trying to lever the boulder down on her or down on them, and then the lightning strike and her apparently falling off the cliff, because it looks like they've given that area to a brand new finale scene with all kinds of magical projections and animations where we actually get to see true love's kiss happen with the prince kissing Snow White, and it looks beautiful and magical and enchanted, as the name suggests. But all of it seems to be definitely painting a much brighter, lighter, cheerier picture than the dark ride that we have all cherished since we were wee kids ourselves.
Do you think that the enhancements that they made to the attraction, I mean, Snow White's Scary Adventures, Pinocchio's Daring Rescue, that's what it's called, right? Pinocchio's Daring Rescue?
Journey.
Pinocchio's Daring Journey. These were attractions that never had much foot traffic to begin with, you know? Maybe when they opened, they were really popular, but Peter Pan always seems to commandeer all of the guests that enter Fantasyland, and then, you know, Mr. Toad seems to do it after. So do you think that, you know, I've thought that they were overdue for an overhaul for quite some time, because we've seen a lot of the other attractions kind of get their facelifts. Pinocchio obviously is going to be next, and I want to get your thoughts on that. But how much of a difference maker do you think this is going to be, and for how long? Because there's a certain point where the novelty, you know, wears off, right? I mean, if you think about it, remember when Johnny Depp was added to Pirates of the Caribbean? Like, it was insanely packed. Like, you couldn't get on the attraction for at least an hour or two. I figured that might be the case here. And depending on when the park opens again, social distancing might make it an even longer wait.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
it's definitely hard to tell because they've never done this type of overhaul to any of the Disneyland, Fantasyland dark rides. They've done a lot of plussing and adding effects here and there, but they didn't rework Peter Pan. They didn't rework Alice in Wonderland, really. So this is a real overhaul. It's going to change the entire experience, it looks like to me. So it's hard to say. It could be really popular. I don't think anything is ever going to pull the line away from Peter Pan, but it may further empty out the line from Pinocchio and Mr. Toad. I think Mr. Toad only gets a little lengthy because of its super low ride capacity. Each vehicle can hold 2 normal people or 3 super tiny people. So it makes the line a little bit longer. The other one that's really popular is Alice, which, sometimes gets close to that Peter Pan length in wait time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm happy for Fantasyland. It's time for some new magic in there. I don't mind that they're making these changes. I will miss some things, but I'm always about progress and the plussing and the changing and the updating. I've ridden that ride 1,000 times. I have my memories. I have my experiences. I'm not going to lose those, hopefully. And so, I like looking back on those things, but I'm also looking forward to experiencing new versions of such things as the Snow White dark ride.
I've had conversations with our pal Sam about, the parades and how long certain parades hang around for and how often we should be getting new parades, at least in his eyes. Sometimes I wonder, for these attractions that are classic or, what do you think the gestation period is for these attractions? Like, how long do you think you want to give it before you say, all right, pretty much everybody that's seen it has seen it at this point, let's revamp it again. Let's plus it. Let's, spruce it up a little bit. Like, personally, I think depending on the attraction or depending on what's happening, like maybe 5 to 10 years would be a good period. But what do you think that should land in?
I would actually say more close to 10 because considering what's happening right now, because we had talked about the parks coming back to normalcy within 5 years. So I would think it'd be at least 5 years, maybe to a decade, that we would see some new change or something. That's what I'm thinking.
As a general rule, I might actually tend to say a longer time period, depending on how successful the attraction is. If it's something that is, a classic or like an instant classic, something like Indiana Jones, it doesn't need a major revamping for 20 years because, it's still just mind blowing how awesome that attraction is. And, something like Snow White, in its current iteration or before they've done this recent renovation, had been around since the early 80s with, not much change at all. So that to me seems like, we all understood at some point, maybe 5 to 10 years ago, that it was about time for it to get some plussing or some real revamping. So to me, if it's something that's good and is loved and is kind of a staple of the park, I would give it about a 15 to 20 year run before I make any major changes. Now, if it's something that is lackluster, isn't drawing the crowds kind of early on, a la Luigi's Flying Tires, then you got to course correct a lot sooner and totally rework it, which they did. And now that attraction's popular, the Rollickin' Roadsters, right? So, I mean, it does depend on the attraction, but I think if we're talking about long-standing staples that are, kind of core attractions for an area, you got to give it 15 to 20 years, in my opinion.
That makes sense.
Because they don't usually put out flim flam, right? They put out quality. There have been exceptions. We're looking at you, Superstar Limo. But, for the most part, they put out qualities. So, like there was no need to touch the Tower of Terror for almost 20 years until they did Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Yeah. And at that point, people did, gnash their teeth and wail at the sky, but what they gave us was amazing. So, that's what I think.
How do you feel about bringing a modular experience with an attraction where, for instance, let's take Star Tours, as the example. Let's say that Star Tours, if you make the vehicle, maybe leave it the same, but if you make it generic enough, like Star Tours, for instance, how would you feel if they tied it into the IPs that were relevant at the time to keep people coming back? Like, let's say that instead of all the Star Wars stuff that we're seeing for episode 7, 8, 9, they tied it all into the Mandalorian. And then a year or two from now, they tied it all into, the new stuff that's coming out.
I'd be fine with that. I think it would make sense if it stayed within the Star Wars universe. So like, I wouldn't want it to flip and all of a sudden be, a Hulk attraction or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that. They've done updates as they've released the new films. They've added scenes for the most recent trilogy, and I've enjoyed the heck out of that. I think that's a great idea. So adding, doing like a Summer of Mandalorian or something where they revamp it and it's all Mandalorian would be amazing.
Yeah.
I could see them pulling that off. I don't know how many times you can do that and, still keep it interesting.
I guess if they did what they do with like Space Mountain, right, where they do, the Hyperspace Mountain overlay or Ghost Galaxy, and then after several months of that, they revert back to whatever the original version of it was. I guess that would be a way to keep it fresh, and it would get people to want to ride the attraction, because then it's something different, right? Because
I don't think you have to worry about Space Mountain, and the right answer here is it should just be Hyperspace Mountain always.
That's true. I will agree with that.
I agree.
But what if we got Hyperspace Mountain with a Dick Dale-ish soundtrack?
Nah, that's not Star Wars to me.
Yeah, but it's a special version of it.
I guess.
What if we had like that surf and sound, but it was the Star Wars suite?
I was thinking about that. I'm like, how can we do this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I there was a period in my art career where I was pretty intrigued by the idea of the mashup, but I'm really, really over it. And to me, that's just a mashup that doesn't work.
Watch.
I'll be honest.
Somebody's gonna make it happen on TikTok, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, I guess it does work."
I could enjoy it on a TikTok, but I don't think I want that on one of my favorite attractions in the park.
Well, speaking of favorite attractions in the park, since we were talking about Snow White, I gotta ask you: do you think that Pinocchio's next? And if you do think it's next, what would you want to lose from the attraction if something has to go? If they do the same thing to this one?
Sure. Yeah, I do think that Pinocchio is probably in line for a revision similar to Snow White's Enchanted Wish. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Snow White, yeah. So, it has some areas that are kind of lacking in my mind. Like, I really love anytime that we're in or around Geppetto's Village. I think those sets are just gorgeous. They're really, really beautiful. I think a couple of the scenes are kind of lacking, though, like the Stromboli scene, specifically with his animatronic. And then with the Pleasure Island scene, I think is really, really kind of, I don't want to say cheaply done, but it's using a lot of really, really dated technology now and pretty basic use of black light. A lot of those things, they feel really flat. They don't have much dimensionality to them. Whereas other scenes look so much more painterly and beautiful, like you're in the film. So I think those scenes could really stand some upgrades. I would love to see more articulation with a Pinocchio animatronic. I would love to see that weird, like, foreshortened perspective version of Monstro turn into something that looks like really cool and menacing, I think that would be a little more interesting. Or maybe if they could do it like Little Mermaid, where you kind of feel like you're going underwater for a minute and, you know, you're really being menaced by a monstro. I think that could be cool. But, you know, really, I think it's the one that they've done the least with as far as bringing up to modernization with any projection technology or, you know, any other modern effects. That one lacks those the most, with I guess the exception of Toad. But Toad kind of works as this weird slapstick, like flat panel thing, you know? So I kind of love Toad the way it is. But yeah, I mean, I welcome it. I would love to see them get their hands on Pinocchio. As we all know, it's my favorite Disney movie. So I'd love to see new Pinocchio magic in the park, and I'd love to see it popularized again and more people fall in love with that film because it's my fave.
I agree, except with the part that it's my fave. But everything else you said,
well, sure,
I totally agree with.
Yeah. Well, you know, they already took away the Village House and made it the Red Rose Tavern. So I'm hoping they don't just continue that and turn Pinocchio into a Beauty and the Beast ride. But that would make you happy.
Not really.
No?
No, not really. I think there's a certain charm to having Pinocchio there because of the legacy of the animated film and the way that that entire area is set up. I don't particularly feel that Beauty and the Beast would fit the mold of what those attractions represent so early on in Walt's career. So if they did like a show with Gaston or Belle or something like that, or LeFou in front of the Red Rose Tavern, or if they did something else in the Fantasyland Theater, I'd probably be better with that as a decision.
Yeah.
But overtaking Pinocchio for Beauty and the Beast, although Beauty and the Beast is my favorite, I wouldn't want to see that. I would want to keep Pinocchio where it is.
Groovy. Yeah, that's what I do love about the Disneyland Fantasyland is it is all the classics.
Yeah.
Like that original era. You know, so I do love that.
I will say though that if you were to lose that area to any princess, it would possibly be Cinderella, because the only representation Cinderella has in the area is the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. And if they wanted to expand that attraction so that you saw the entire story and you exited into the gift shop, which is a common thing for many attractions, it would make sense to exit into the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique versus exiting the attraction the way that you currently exit now.
Sure.
So if there was ever a property that would overtake Pinocchio, I think it would be Cinderella.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. I hope they don't do it, but
I hope they don't do it either.
I don't think they will. No.
My wife would not like me saying that since that's her favorite movie. But
nice.
I agree. I don't think I would like to see that. I think Pinocchio represents a really major part of Walt's animation career that I think is very, very relevant. And the princesses get so much representation throughout the parks and parades and stuff like that, that removing Pinocchio would just, you know, you wouldn't see him very often unless it's like a cavalcade of characters and stuff. And, you know, you have to try to represent as many characters as possible, because representing as many characters as possible also represents the different types of people that visit the park, because everyone associates with a different character. You know, you don't want to see the princesses all over the entire park.
Right.
You know, so.
Right.
Anyhow, totally different conversation for another day. But cool. So I want to shift over to Disney Plus, because we didn't get a chance to talk to you about this before, Gavin. But are you officially caught up with The Mandalorian now?
Heck yeah, I am.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mel. Oh, I know you're caught up because we were texting back and forth about it. So, yes.
I know.
Okay. So, before we get into The Mandalorian, I just, you know, part of me is a little disappointed, because when Disney Plus, when all the announcements were being made about all these cool new things coming to Disney Plus in December, one of the things I was super excited about, and I'm posting on Instagram and my stories like, I know what I'm doing December 11th. I'm watching High School Musical, the musical, The Disappointment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gavin, did you watch it?
I started watching it, and then I kind of just skipped around a little bit and mostly fast forwarded through it. Honestly, and I should have known better, but I was expecting a classic like holiday special from a TV show where it's like an episode set at Christmas, maybe a longer episode. But I wanted a High School Musical, the series story, but all it was the cast in their separate locations singing one of their favorite Christmas songs and answering questions about their Christmas memories, which I don't care about their Christmas memories. That's not interesting to me at all. They're all fun performers, and some of them sang really good songs, but yeah, it's not what I was looking for. I thought it was going to be another story in the life of those characters. I was there for the characters, and I didn't get them. I should have known better, though. Like, of course, they're not going to film a new episode.
Yeah, but they could have banked one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm right there with you, dude. I was 120% looking forward to having an actual Christmas story where, like, the gang gets together and they save Christmas at the high school, you know? And I got none of that. And I think 5 to 8 minutes into it, when I realized what it was going to be, I'm like, this is the Disney sing-along with different people.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
And as soon as I saw that, I went and saw the Mandalorian again.
Nice.
So now that we brought it up, I mean, the Mandalorian. Oh my God! There is no.
That's the cleanest way to say
right?
it.
There's so many other things I want to say, but so for the purpose of this portion of the episode, listener discretion is advised. Not because we're going to be cursing, but because there may be spoilers. And when I say there may be, there definitely will be. So if you haven't watched the final episode of The Mandalorian for this season, make sure that you watch it before you listen to this part of the episode. If you've already seen it, join us on the Discord server and let's talk about it. Because, I've been saying over and over with almost every episode this season that the last one that I saw was my favorite. Nope, this new one was my favorite. Nope, this last one was my favorite. And let me tell you, now that I've seen every episode this season, nope, the last one was my favorite.
Interesting. Nice. It's not, the last one was not my favorite episode of the season. It was good. I will tell you there's two things that I found slightly frustrating about that episode. Overall, I did like it. I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I found it frustrating that, and this is, I'm fully spoiling if people haven't watched at this point.
We've already warned everybody, so.
Okay. So I didn't like that Grogu was taken so late in the series, and as soon as he's rescued, a minute later, he's handed off and we say goodbye to him again. Like, I found that frustrating. Like, I wished that they had stolen him earlier in the series and it was more of an epic rescue tale, and then maybe we get him back 3/4 of the way through the series, and then, there's a breathing moment before we get to the final handoff. I found that a little frustrating. Just as a fan of wanting things to work out, right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is I really feel like the strength of The Mandalorian was that it never relied on main saga characters for anything. That's what was great about it, is that it stands alone, and there are references and there are, appearances. Late in this season, we've got the appearance of Boba Fett, and that adds some texture and some flavor. And in the 9 previous films, he's in 10 minutes of them. So he's really a minor character. So I didn't mind bringing him in. I didn't mind referring to things. But when you bring in a main saga character, to me, that's a crutch. And yeah, of course, I love seeing him. Everybody loves seeing him, but that's not the Mandalorian. That's not what the Mandalorian is about, you know? And I was a little bit like, really? It's him? Okay. I mean, I'm cool with that. He's cool. He's the best. He's the guy. He's the man. But I was like, okay. I hope he's not in every episode next year. And I don't know. It makes me have many more question marks for season 3. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Mel, what about you?
I'm on the opposite end. I'm sorry.
No, you're cool.
It's because I'm the person that is, if I'm entertained, I'm entertained. So I was really entertained, but it's funny. Yeah, I was thinking about what next season, you know, what they're gonna do for us, how are we gonna see Grogu again? You know,
you have to.
Right.
I mean,
at some point,
yeah.
you know, when, but the whole, honestly, I really enjoyed the whole rescue part, and this is because I'm a fan of Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan, and
Starbuck.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Finally got to see all of Battlestar Galactica, so I know everything.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, they're basically fighting Cylons in that last episode.
Right. So it was so cool to see a little bit of that, and but leading up to it, it was just awesome just to see her again, because she's really BA,
Yeah,
totally.
She's cool.
The one thing I had in my mind was who is that Jedi? Who is it? I'm not going to say right now. We're going to lead up to that, because I don't know if you just want me to say it, but
I think we could say it. I think it's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so leading up, that was my main question. Who was Grogu talking to? Who? And I was thinking, okay, this timeline, who is a Jedi? Trying to cross down my list of candidates and whatnot. And then we see the X-Wing, and I'm done. I am done. I was like, oh my God, this is happening. I didn't anticipate to see Luke so early, or anyone, because we've seen how they did Leia in Rogue One. So I'm thinking, how are we going to do this? And then we saw in The Last Jedi, in The Last Jedi, oh my God, I want his skin. Oh my God, it's just beautiful. I'm like, oh my God, just I was blown away by how he looked, just so good. God, this is gonna be horrible, but he looked better here than in episode 9.
So it's interesting, because I feel like they've really started to be able to nail these CGI recreations of these actors as far as the look goes. They're still not there with naturalistic movement, even speaking. So as soon as he says or does anything, it loses it a little bit for me. But when he's just standing there and you're just looking at him, I mean, it was freaking, you know, Luke from Return of the Jedi. It was really, really cool. I really enjoyed his entrance into the episode, and just watching him waylay all those dark troopers was so gratifying. That's the one thing that this particular Star Wars iteration has really not had, which is a Jedi presence. We got the one episode with Ahsoka Tano where you get glimpses of it, but watching him come in and just show this is what a Jedi Master can do when it's called for. Oh man, that was so gratifying, watching all those dark troopers eat it.
On Reddit, I had seen, I bless the internet. I love when people are able to make comparison, like videos or GIFs. And there's one, I have to send it to you guys. It is literally the shot where Vader is coming out in episode 4. It's the scene where he comes in, he's going through everyone, and it's the same thing where Luke is just coming in, opens up the elevator, and he's just going through everyone. It's
probably
so
the final
cool.
scene of Rogue One that you saw, Because when he
Was
enters
it?
in episode 4, he doesn't do a whole lot. The
You're
stormtroopers
right.
do. He's already done the damage. We see that damage in Rogue One.
And edit that out.
No, you're good.
It
It makes
It's all
sense.
good.
So
Okay.
here's the reason. Okay, so story-wise, I have to say that the Ahsoka Tano episode was possibly my favorite of the entire season. Just because of how they introduced Ahsoka Tano, how they introduced the name of the child in the episode, how they linked it to the other stories. I mean, not that they weren't linked before, but explaining the presence of the remaining Jedi and, you know, his training and everything, I think filled in a lot of holes that we had story-wise from the very beginning. But this one is my favorite for a different reason. Like, I have on different favorite planes, right? This one, as you know, I've been trying to learn more about the Star Wars universe, and I've been trying to consume more of the content because I get the appeal now. You know, I'm kind of falling in love with the universe and the characters and everything that goes along with it. Because of that, the completionist side of my brain is like, it's all wrapping together now, you know? And knowing that The Mandalorian takes place, you know, about 5 years after episode 4, by that time, Luke is already a master Jedi, right? Like, he's coming in, like, with 5 extra years of experience that he already had by the end of the last film in that original trilogy. So in my head, it's all starting, like, it's just a giant map with a bunch of red yarn connecting different points in different series. For me, I understand how you were feeling, Gavin, about how maybe we were going to get that breathing point where they kind of took him and then they saved him and then we had more adventures and then he finally gave him up. Like, me personally, I don't want to say that I saw this coming because I didn't see this particular thing coming, but I knew that they were going to save Grogu, right? I knew that that was coming in some form or another. In my head, I figured that they were going to take him back to the stone and he was going to have one more shot at communicating without all the dark troopers attacking him this time. And at that point, we were going to finally see the Jedi that was going to appear and finally say, okay, come with me, little one, you know, let's complete your training. And a part of me didn't connect that it was going to be Luke. I thought it was going to be Ezra because since they're releasing all the new series, like Ahsoka's going to be a new series that's going to basically tell you her story, which a lot of her story is told throughout Clone Wars, right? You see a lot of her stuff in that series, and Ezra's a big part of that. So I thought they were going to link those two together, and then there's the other series that are, you know, kind of along the same lines of that, like Rangers of the New Republic and stuff. So I thought they were going to begin to bring more of those characters in so that they didn't have to rely on CG to bring back the old characters. Like, it was cool that they brought back Luke. Like, I'll be lying if I didn't, like, get all the warm and fuzzies when I saw him. But when I saw that Jedi coming through and just wailing on all the dark troopers, I thought it was going to be Ezra or, you know, somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense that he's the one that's there. So I get it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And, you know, I mean, he's kind of the face of the brand, really.
Yeah.
So it is neat, you know, to have him show up. I'm just hoping it is more of a cameo. And, you know, maybe there's going to be a couple more cameos in the next season. But to have a deep fake character for a whole season, that sounds sketchy to me. And I'm really wondering, like, do you guys know what the situation is with the teaser at the end of the episode? Is that going to be a separate series?
Yes.
Okay.
It is not going to be considered The Mandalorian Season 3. The Book of Boba Fett is its own series, and there will be a Season 3 of The Mandalorian separate from that.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel a little better.
I don't know if you've seen the comparison photos, but if they did have to bring back Luke Skywalker to continue telling the story, what do you think of Sebastian Stan taking the mantle of Luke Skywalker?
I don't know who that is, so I'm not sure.
Sebastian Stan played the Winter Soldier in the MCU. But there's been a couple of renderings where they like kind of paint on a beard, and because of his scraggly hair, he kind of looks like a young Luke Skywalker.
Okay. I have seen that photo. I kind of see it too, but
I mean, he didn't have any facial hair in that era of Star Wars, so. I mean, the answer here is I just don't think we need any of those characters in The Mandalorian.
Well, I'm saying if they had to bring him back for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Here's the comparison.
Oh, damn.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I'd be fine with that as long as Mark does the voice acting.
Well, we'd have to go back to that deepfake thing, but...
No, just have you've got him playing the body, and then Mark Hamill does the voice.
But what if Sebastian Stan can do like an uncanny, Luke Skywalker voice?
He can't. He's not. I don't believe he can.
It's definitely a step up from Solo.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I never even bothered to watch that.
Well,
you're good.
For all of you that haven't had the opportunity to see the photo, I'm going to put it up in the Discord server. Let us know what you think, because, I mean, when I first saw this, I just thought it was like Luke Skywalker, and then 2 years later, he was, cosplaying as himself again. Because, I mean, Sebastian Stan bears an uncanny resemblance to Mark Hamill. So, yeah, I mean, I think it would be a good way to kind of bring him back. I hope they don't use him as a crutch, like you were saying. Unlike what you said, Melissa, I don't think we're going to see Grogu for the entire season. I don't think we're going to see him in the book of... I don't think we're going to see him in the Book of Boba Fett at all. There might be references, but in in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, I don't think we're going to see Grogu at all. I think there's going to be other stuff that happens that might be connected, but you probably won't see
they
him
will
till the
lose
end.
viewers. They will lose viewers if they don't have Grogu.
You think so?
Because a lot of people started watching that with season 1, episode 2, when they saw all the whole internet blow up with this cute little cuddly Yoda creature.
That's true.
They fell in love with that, and that's why they watched.
Yeah.
The Goo Goo Gaga effect was in full effect.
Yep.
So I think they'll lose viewers if they do that. So maybe we'll get, like, I don't know, a baby Jabba the Hutt or something.
No way. That's called a pillow.
I don't know. I was talking to my friend about it a couple days ago. We were chatting back and forth about this final episode, and we talked about, we both really loved it, like I said before, but we both talked about our criticisms and how it gives us question marks for season 3. But based on the fact that season 1 and 2 were so stellar, we're still on board. Like, I'm there day one as soon as they release the next episode. So, and that's saying something, because I do not watch current television shows. I wait until the series finale happens, and then I tune in. So this is a rare exception for me.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
don't watch current TV at all.
It
drives me nuts.
I know the feeling. I get what you're saying. I don't think Grogu's going to appear, but it does make you wonder one thing, though. Did Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren burn Grogu?
Depends on how long he's hanging out with Luke, I guess.
Well, when you think about where episode 7, 8, and 9 pick up, and the story that Luke tells and why he doesn't want to train Rey, and what happened with Ben, where's Grogu in all of that?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of distance between Return of the Jedi and episode 7. It's like 20 years, right? At least.
I think so.
Well, no, it's got to be even more than that, because Kylo is older than 20 years, and Han and Leia don't have a kid yet at the end of episode 6. It's got to be like 30 years, I bet. So, I mean, Grogu can be with Luke for 5-10 years getting training, and then not be around anymore when that whole thing goes down. I think you got enough time in there.
I want to believe that.
Yeah. Or he got fried.
Yeah. I don't want that to happen, though.
I don't either. I like Grogu.
Yeah. Every time I hear him coo, I Yeah. Damn it. They get me hook, line, and sinker. All right, well, we want to know what you felt watching the final episode of this season of The Mandalorian. Thumbs up or thumbs down for you. How did you feel about Grogu being taken away at the end? Obviously, after... Oh, actually, before we wrap up, I got to ask you the question. How did you feel about Din taking his mask off?
Yeah, that brings up a lot of questions, for sure. But there are also other questions. You know, he's got this sword, which makes him what, Emperor of Mandalore now? They're gonna have to answer a lot of questions in the first couple of episodes of the next season. I felt uncomfortable with it because we know the rules, and it's like he's already broken it once, and like I don't know. Like, he's getting kind of loose with them Mandalorian rules, it seems like.
I just like how it showed a little bit of humanity. We don't really see a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the humanity side of it. But I after that happened, it's funny because every time anybody's ever asked me, like, are you Jedi or Sith? Light side or dark side? Like, I always joke and I'm like, bounty hunter. That was my answer for most of that stuff. And I always knew, like, you couldn't take off your helmet, but I never understood why. And so after researching a little bit, and Star Wars geeks out there listening, if I'm incorrect, please correct me. Let me know, because I don't want to continue saying this if it's incorrect. But as far as I know, the hard rule of not taking the mask off only pertains to the Children of the Watch. It doesn't pertain to everyone on Mandalore, especially considering that there's other Mandalorians that are okay with it, which is why Bo-Katan takes hers off and everyone that she's with takes hers off. And so when they set up that story that, there are Mandalorians that take it off, like, it was obviously going to happen for him because they foreshadowed it from, the very beginning of the season. And then they kept repeating that theme over and over. Like, when they were trying to infiltrate to get the coordinates of Grogu, like, what's his name? Bill Burr's character?
I don't remember his character name.
Well, regardless, Bill Burr's character, while they're driving, he's all like, well, what's the story with your mask, Are you not allowed to take it off? Or is it that people can't see your face? Because it's two different things. And it's true. So they set it up for a really long time. But, apparently that's just a hard rule of the Children of the Watch, which is the guild that he's technically a part of. So, I mean, now that he, like you said, with the Darksaber, now that he's like ruler of the Mandalorians, does he go back on it? Because now a bunch of people have seen who he is. Yeah. It's not a secret anymore. So,
yeah, I think the next season will answer that question for us.
And will he go back and hook up with that girl that wanted to see his face when they were on that planet?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Where baby Grogu was all like, I eat frogs, and all the kids are like, ew! All right. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Anybody that's had a chance to watch the final episode of The Mandalorian, let us know your thoughts. How did you feel about some of the things that we talked about? Din taking off his helmet, Luke taking Grogu away. Where do you think that leaves us? How do you think, it's going to affect season 3? We'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'd love to discuss this a little further. I've just been super psyched because the more that I'm learning about the Star Wars universe, the more it's all connecting. I just keep thinking to myself, God bless you, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. You've made this guy a Star Wars fan, and I don't know. I feel like a little kid, man. Just kind of watching a lot of these. Like, I understand the appeal, and I understand where that fandom comes from for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
well, and you're about to get 67 new Star Wars series.
That's
so
nothing.
Lots to consume.
That's nothing. The trick is to watch them on release week.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Right? All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Again, join the conversation over on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or on our Discord server. If you're not a member of the Discord server yet, just go over to the blog post for this episode, podketeers.com/340, or go to podketeers.com, scroll down a bit, you'll see the invite to the server there. We just started it up not too long ago. It's a growing community, but, it's fun. I love it. And that's it. Any closing thoughts before we close up for today?
This is the way.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Also, whistle while you work. It does pass the time.
Oh, that's true. Both very good ones, Gavin. So, on that note, keep dreaming, keep moving forward. Merry Christmas if you celebrate it, and Happy Hanukkah if by this time I think it will be over by the time this episode releases. And always remember to pass on the magic. Have a fantastic week, everyone.
Bye.
Made you look.